The tricky part is we can't charge for trails, so they're available for everybody. We don't like using the word free because there's a cost to doing all this, and making the connection between, having a good experience and supporting that experience. We want people to be contributors, not just users. This happens because somebody is giving of dollar or time or both, and it's significant to make sure these facilities are available to the public.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Total Michigan, where we interview ordinary Michiganders doing some pretty extraordinary things. I'm your host, Cliff Duvinois. So it's summertime. And one of the things that we like to do in Michigan, of course, is get out and explore nature and be one with nature. And so I'm out and about collecting all these stories of great organizations and people that make our exploration of the great Michigan outdoors an actual possibility. And one of the places that I came across in my research was NTN Trails, which is located in Marquette, Michigan. And they're actually doing quite a lot up here. So to walk us through exactly what's going on, how this great organization came together, is Lori Hauswirth, the executive director, as well as Jeni Kilpela, who is the community outreach manager. Lori, how are you?
Great. It's summer. It's Marquette. We're rolling into another busy season.
Amen to that. Jeni, how are you?
I'm great. I love summer here. I love all the seasons here.
Yes. And we're definitely going to talk about that because your organization is definitely year-round. So to begin with, if you would, for our audience, what is NTN Trails?
Yeah, so NTN Trails, we're a nonprofit, primarily volunteer-based, but we do have a small staff, a growing staff of folks that are here to make sure people can get outside and do non-motorized activities across the trails in the Marquette area. We maintain over 150 miles of trail for biking, skiing, hiking, snowshoeing, whatever you want to do, compatible for getting outside and enjoying nature. And that's across 8 trail systems between Big Bay and Munising. We're one of a number of trail organizations in this great state, making sure people can get outside and enjoy the outdoors.
And so we're definitely going to explore that a lot more. But Lori, if you would, why don't you talk with us? How did you get involved with NTN Trails?
Ooh, how did I get involved with NTN Trails? So, yeah, that's a little bit of a story. So I grew up here in Marquette.
Okay.
So I've really been playing on the area that is now the NTN Trails since I was young. I think I got my first mountain bike when I was 11 or 12, but played on the trails out there for many years, graduated from NMU with a land use planning background, ended up moving to the Keweenaw.
Okay.
And in the Keweenaw, I got tied into a mountain bike group on Monday nights and somehow ended up as the director for a mountain bike race over there as a volunteer at Keweenaw Chain Drive Festival, and got super involved with the trail systems and helping out as a volunteer, building trails, maintaining trails, volunteering at events. All these things happen because of volunteer organizations. That kind of led to an opportunity to actually work for the International Mountain Bicycling Association in a split role as the director of the Copper Harbor Trails, which is a whole nother great trail system on the west end of the UP. And then opportunity came about to move back to Marquette, and I started showing some interest in it, and they hired me back about 6 years ago, just over 6 years. So,
So when you say they hired me back, you're talking about NTN Trails.
The NTN Trails, yeah,
Okay.
the nonprofit.
Right.
Yep. So I came on as their executive director, and the time is going really, really quick.
It always does. Jeni, if you would, why don't you tell us, how did you get involved with NTN Trails?
So I like to volunteer, and I volunteered with the Superior Land Ski Club, which is a local Nordic ski club that teaches kids ages 5 to 18 how to ski. We used to have adult relays. And so I've been helping out with events, volunteering. I'm the director of the Lake Superior Shore Run, which fundraises for kids so we can give scholarships for any kid who wants to try skiing, that they can do that, and offer rentals at scholarship also. And so I've been helping out at different events for years. I use the trails quite often. I'm a big Nordic skier, trail runner, mountain biker. And Lori came in and said, I'm looking to expand kind of what we do here. And just, we grew to, we're still very grassroots, but we have 1,400 members. So,
Which is amazing.
Community partnerships. And so she just needed somebody who could come here, who knew the trails, who knew the community, the outdoor community, to come and help manage those relationships. So I said yes, and here I am doing a thing I volunteered to do for years, and now I get to do it as a job.
So you were talking before about how you've got 1,400 members for the NTN Trail Network.
Yeah.
Let's rewind the hands of time. Talk to me about the beginning of NTN Trails. How did it come about?
Yeah, I mean, NTN itself, it's really been on the backs of like just passionate volunteers, that they wanted more opportunities to ski and bike. And, there was a time when they came together to groom the DNR ski trails, Blueberry Ridge out at the crossroads, because DNR was not going to groom them. That was kind of the foundation of things getting started. Some events kind of spiraled out of that. But really at the core, it's been, passionate folks that they want trails. They want to share their trails with the community, and it's been really a volunteer-based effort to build up this organization. And, as time has gone on, it's become a very big organization, and having staff to do the day-to-day and, do the fundraising, to be able to do the building and the maintaining and the things, that's what comes after an organization gets a little bigger and they're doing really, really important things for the community.
So NTN Trails is a nonprofit. So where do you get the funding to keep your doors open to maintain these trails? Where does that come from?
Well, memberships. So because most of our land that the trails are on, we don't own, we can't charge for a membership. We can't charge for a pass, like if you were downhill skiing, okay? And so what we ask is that people consider an annual membership. So it's helping us fund the maintenance, the trail building, insurance, things like that. And then also our business community, sponsors, trails, events. They're really great. They understand, how many people we bring into the community who want to live here because of the trails, and then just people visiting who want to come see us. And then occasionally we get some grants, but that takes our time away to write them too. So that's pretty much it. And the events themselves. So the big events that we put on also help fund the trails.
And what you just said there was so right, because when I was telling people that I'm going to be coming to Marquette to do some more interviews, they're like, you're not going to want to leave. It seemed like that was just a recurring theme. So I totally get that. So when we talk about, so you're talking about 1,400 memberships. Now, are most of those local people that have bought memberships? Do you find it's global across the U.S.? How does that?
Yeah, we do. We do have some folks who come here for the summer. I met a guy a lot of people work remotely now. And so he comes here for 2 weeks. He lives here, he bikes here, and he buys his membership. We're still the best deal on trails, as Lori likes to say. I mean, really, it's very inexpensive compared to other things you might pay for, like an annual membership to ski hill, for example, or other sports you want to do. And so we do find that I haven't done the rough breakdown, but there's a lot of people from Chicago, Illinois, Midwest who also buy memberships because they've been here for a week or two. But the majority are Marquette County. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the tricky part is we can't charge for trails. So they're available for everybody. We don't like using the word free because there's a cost to doing all this, and making the connection between, having a good experience and supporting that experience. We want people to be contributors, not just users, make that connection between this happens because somebody is giving of dollar or time or both. And it's significant to make sure these facilities are available to the public.
You made a comment before about how you don't own most of the land that the trails is on. So is it government land? Who else owns the land that the trails are on?
Yeah, so it's a real mix. We've got some of our trails are on city land, township land, Board of Light and Power, which is our local utility provider here. There's portions that are on neighborhood associations. There's portions that are on conservancy organizations. The golf course, which is a private nonprofit, they allow us around the golf course, the Marquette Country Club. Across our system, there's a lot of connectivity. That's what makes our system really great, is you can jump on a bike path here and then duck into the trails within, a quarter mile, half mile of downtown. You're on trails and really can disappear into the woods very easily. But in order for that to happen, we need a lot of partners, and there's no exchange of funds for this access. These people are giving of their land and that access because they see how important it is to the community, and it makes connections. The better that trail system is connected, I think the better experience you can have, the more access we have to it. I think most people within the city of Marquette, are within a mile, probably a half mile of being able to jump on a natural surface trail system.
That's cool. That's really cool. One thing I would like to explore is, because you talk about all these different trail systems, so I want to kind of bring a little perspective to this. So how many miles of trails are we talking about?
Across our 8, it's over 150. I really need to dial in that number, because in ski terms, we like to talk kilometers, and in summer terms, we like to talk miles, and we keep adding, so we really need to reassess our mileage, and some of the adding has been because we wanted more trail and had an opportunity to create more trail. And some of that mileage is, hey, that land is now going to be housing development. We now need to work around it. So we've had a lot of that over the last few years. So we kind of need to look at that. But yeah, it's a lot of miles of trail.
And on top of that, it's not just summer. It is year round that these trails are open.
It is. You want to talk about the year-round use, all the things we do?
Yeah, so we have Nordic ski trails with at least, kilometers. I'm trying to think. I mean, the No Cayman on Ski Marathon Corridor is a 50K race, but that's not all maintained for the entire year. They groom that and get that ready for their January ski event. So we're probably talking more like 30K that we can maintain if the snow's good. This year was
at that one location.
Just there. And then we have other locations like Sox Head. Right here in the city, we have the most amazing park called the Fit Strip, where there's lights at night. There's 2 miles of groomed trail. So you can, it gets dark in the winter at 6:30, 5:30. You can go ski under lights. That we also maintain that with a volunteer groomer. And then we have all the snow biking routes that we groom, which we kind of developed. I mean, nobody knew how to groom for a snow bike, and so they tried a bunch of different things. And now, I mean, there was somebody on a dirt bike grooming when they first started. Like, how could we do this? Now we use a snowmobile and a tire, but or a Scandic, So it's all been. It's just fun. People love
tinkering.
And to just be outside. And so they're going to find a way. The work ethic here is incredible. And people like to work hard and play hard. So the winters here can be long. People tell me. I love winter. But I would say
guilty as charged.
One way to get that vitamin D that we're all missing is to get outside and to find a sport that you love. So whether that's snowshoeing, walking with your dog, snow biking, Nordic skiing, anybody can Nordic ski because it's so low impact on the body. So that's always my thing is let's get out and try it. So yeah, in the winter, it's a playground and it's beautiful.
For our audience, we're going to take a quick break and thank our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to talk a lot more about the events that are happening around here year round, as well as what you can expect when you come up here and visit the trails. We'll see you after the break.
Hey, if you are enjoying these great interviews, just take a moment and go to totalmichigan.com/join, and you can get these episodes sent directly to your inbox because there's a lot more great stories coming. See you there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Total Michigan, where we interview ordinary Michiganders doing some pretty extraordinary things. I'm your host, Cliff Duvinois. Today, we're talking with Lori and Jeni from NTN Trails, and we're talking about over 150 miles of trails that you can explore when you come here. And I'm trying to wrap my head around 150 miles of trails because you made a comment before about grooming. And I know you said, at least I know there's one volunteer that you have, and you probably need an army of volunteers to maintain this many trails. So I guess my first question is, how do you maintain 150 miles of trails?
That's a great question. Each of our systems is a little different. So we do, in the winter, our main ski trail system, which is Forestville. We do have a full-time groomer. He likes to drive the big groomer, which is a piston bully. You know, that's a $250,000 piece of machinery. Wait a minute. So
it's $250,000 for a piece of machinery to groom trails.
Yes.
Sweet
Yep.
Moses. I'm in the wrong business.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's our, that leaves like just world-class surface for people to ski.
250, it better be.
Putting tracks for skating as well as classic skiing. So the piston bully, but we have to have so much snow to do that. And like last year, it was very low snow season for us. So we don't just have the piston bully, we have snowmobiles with an assortment of drags. It could be a roller that we use to pack. We have other groomers that are called Ginsu groomers that kind of tear up the surface and then pack it back down. Ginsu, yeah. It has little knives on it, actually.
Yeah.
So every system is a little different. The Forestville one, we groom really wide because it's skating and striding. So they have tracks on a couple sides and a skate lane in the middle. At some of the other systems, we do a narrower path. So they might just be a Ginsu groomer and a roller. We can't afford to run piston bullies at the systems, and they may not be built the width that this machine, it's a big tracked machine. And up in Big Bay, we have some four-wheelers that have tracks on them. So it varies.
So when you say we have, this is something that this organization owns?
Yes.
Or these are the volunteers?
Yep. So, I mean, we have across the system well over $500,000 in equipment that's necessary. Well, yeah. And I mean, you don't, and it's not just the purchase of that equipment. Once we purchase that, you have to maintain it. They need repairs.
Sure.
They need servicing. Things break when you hit a buried log that you didn't see in the woods. And that's the scary part. Like I'm always like, we only let so many people drive that piston bully because it's kind of important. But what's nice across our system is, we can do this because, yes, we have we have an employee that does our main grooming at Forest. So we actually have another employee that's year-round for us that does facilities. So he's actually helping groom, helping maintain, helping dig. He does a lot of things. His name's Doug. Doug, takes care of a lot of things for us. And in the winter, Andy comes on. Andy does the grooming, and he's grooming. When he goes out to groom that system, he's out there for 8 hours.
Right.
Driving at, a couple miles per hour, to leave that surface. But across the other trail systems, we've got volunteers, and that's a huge thing. It's not always fun to go out in, 20 below temperatures in a snowstorm to start getting the trail ready. We've done such a good job. Sometimes people have this really high expectation of deliverables. And it's like, well, when are you going to have the trail ready? We're in the middle of a blizzard. Let the wind die down, So, we try to be really diligent about our resources and our dollars. I mean, we have to. We don't know how long the winter's going to be. We don't know how many snowstorms we're going to have. We may have a wet snowstorm that takes all the trees like this across the trail, and we've got to call out volunteers to help beat snow off of branches to open things back up. We do have a part-time employee to groom some of the single-track snow biking. We had mentioned the single-track snow biking. That's kind of a thing in Marquette. We developed quite a few of the how to do this. So we're using snowmobiles or what we call a snow dog, which is a tracked vehicle. We use different things depending on the system. But again, it's a combination of some part-time employees and lots of volunteers. it's amazing the volunteers that I call them super volunteers. They're the guys you can call up at any hours, or you get a text that, oh, it's all groomed, and you're like, well, it just stopped snowing like an hour ago. Like it's all, and that's what's great, but it's also the thing that makes us nervous, right? Like, those volunteers are so key, and it takes so many hours to do what we do. If we don't have volunteers, we need staff. And to have staff, we need dollars.
True.
So, it's all feeding, this organization that is doing a lot for the community and getting people outside. That's what I always go back to. We're getting people outside to enjoy the trails.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up the super volunteer thing, because I usually find that with organizations that are out there, you get volunteers who work, but you've got that one group that's just so passionate about what it is that you are doing. And like you said, you can text them, call them any time of the day or night, and they are there.
They're there. Yeah. It's chainsaw crews. We have a storm go through, and
We got chainsaws too.
Trees come down.
Yes, that's
like
right. Change.
That's a big deal. And the other cool thing that we do have here too, like just the people will be out riding, and we've got them trained but educated on the info we need. Like now when they find a tree, they do a screenshot of the location, they send us a picture. So now like we're getting a little more efficient at taking care of issues, because the community is doing a better job of telling us when they see
great.
something. Yeah, it's amazing.
That is great. Man, I'd love to spend a lot more time on that topic, but I do want to make sure that we talk about some of the big key events that you put on throughout the year that really draws a lot of people to the area. So talk to us about some of those events.
Yeah, well, the year starts out with the No Cayman on Ski Marathon in January, which this year had over 1,200 people in the long race, the full marathon, which is from a point-to-point race from Michigander to Marquette. And it's just gorgeous. It features just some of the beauty of Marquette County.
And you participated in that.
I do, yeah. It's
Yes.
great. And then we have what we call a winter, which is just a fun time to come out and enjoy the fat biking and snowshoeing, backcountry skiing. And then our biggest event in the summer is Trails Fest, which will be in June, which is cross-country racing, downhill mountain bike racing, trail running, and some kids races, as well as a criterium. That's pretty fun too. And then in August, we have the Marquette Trail 50, which is a trail ultra marathon, 50 kilometers and 50 miles, featuring all the systems that butt up to our system. And it's just phenomenal, and people flying from all over the U.S. to run that. And then in the fall, we have the Fall Enduro on the same trails on the South Trail system, which is downhill and enduro style racing.
So for a lot of these events that you have going on, are these something that has been a part of NTN since the beginning? Have these been added along the way? Like somebody who's watched something on TV and they say, oh, there's an ultra marathon. Maybe we should have one of those too. I mean, where did the ideas come up? Because I know you just mentioned a few and you got a lot more than that. But where did the ideas for these festivals come from?
Yeah, I think it's been a mix of things over time. The ski marathon really started out as what was called the Red Earth Whoppet, which is the very early days, the point-to-point Nordic ski racing. The enduro mountain bike thing is relatively new. I would say that's kind of been a format of racing that people have really gotten excited about, because you ride with your friends to the top of a stage, and then you race individually down, and then you gather up again and you ride to the next stage. So it's super social. And it kind of alludes to that, there's a bit of individualism with these trail sports,
Sure.
right? So I think that's been really exciting for people. So we added that Marquette Fall Enduro, and that's been a big one for us. The Trail 50, again, passionate volunteers. The thing is, it's not just, we have our events that are direct fundraisers for the trails, but we also have other events that happen on our trails that are put on by other organizations. The Ore to Shore race used to be housed under us. They're now their own separate nonprofit. That's over I think it was 2,300 mountain bikers last year, and that's point-to-point events also.
Nice.
They used part of our system for that. The Margie Gessick race, which is put on by the 906 Adventure Team. That's a fundraiser for their organization. That's one of it's touted as one of the hardest mountain bike races in the area or region. Part of it is because they assemble, some of our trails, and maybe not the most obvious ways to make them a little more challenging. And that finishes up in Ishpring, where there's a whole nother network of trails maintained by a nonprofit up there, the Rambo organization. So that's the thing, like these events, they kind of grow out of people's passion to share. Like they see something they're excited about, and they, for us, like the calendar's really busy. We ran off X amount of events, but when you add the events being put on by other organizations, like our trails are busy, but we also want to make sure the trails are available for the community.
Sure.
Having too many events means we're displacing the public.
Right.
We need events because they're fundraisers. We also need events because that's what's
brings people to the
showcasing
area,
and it's bringing
yes.
people in to support our sponsors. And, we're seeing more people in more businesses drawn to the trails. They're using it for employee retention, recruitment. When people are moving
that's
here,
cool.
yeah, you'll see them touting the trails and the outdoor access. And one of the first things people are doing when they're moving to the area, they're coming in our door and saying, "Hey, I want to support the trails with a membership." And for us, that's we think they've probably been exposed to it through those events, and they have decided that this is where they want to be.
So talk to me a little bit about the membership package. Like you just said, somebody could come in here and say, "Hey, I want to support it." What does that include? Is it free coffee in the morning? Do they get first dibs to register for the races? I mean, what does that package entail?
Sure. So our membership, we have individual, family, and then some higher levels. The individual is that you get some stickers to show your support on your bike, your vehicle. And then all of our community partners are offered the chance to give discounts. So our bike shops, coffee shops, anybody on there who wants to offer a discount can, and they get a little card that has all those discounts for when they're shopping. And then we send out all of our news, direct marketing to them, to all of our members. So
Via
they
email?
can, yeah, so
Nice.
they can know like what we're up to, which is important because we do a lot. And so keeping up with everything we have going on is what we also do for our members. Now we do have, if people want to be a trail builder or a legacy member, which is a higher level of financial support, they can choose a portion of the trail that they can sponsor. And so then they can, have a family name go on it. And
okay.
so they say this section is sponsored by, the
Cliff.
Johnson family, right, or Cliff. And same way with our businesses. When they come on as sponsors, they can choose a section. So we have a dentist on our Smiley Trail.
Perfect.
And it's a really great way to, show yourself as a business or a person saying, yeah, we love it here. This is why we live here. This is certainly why I live here. We talked when I got married and we're like, where do we want to be? We have 4 seasons here and we can ride from our house and be on trails. So I think a lot of people, they just want to support that.
Certainly. Now, when somebody does come here, for the area, let's say they've heard this podcast, they're like, man, I want to check out these groomed trails. I want to see what $250,000 piston bully, what'd you call that thing?
Piston bully.
Piston bully. I was
yeah.
right. See what that does. What can people expect when they come here?
So as you see, our office isn't at a trailhead. So sometimes that can be a bit finding us. We try to be out at trailheads in the summer during the busy months, but mostly people will buy their memberships online on our website, or they can come in and see us in Lakeview Arena. They can just explore, and we would ask that if they're just here visiting, they're not going to move here. We'd like to ask for $15 a day because it does cost us. How much does it cost per mile to build trail?
Oh, over $40,000.
There's a lot
I'm sorry, what? $40,000 to do 1 mile?
There's a lot of cost involved in trails. So,
I'm in the wrong business.
trail building's hot. There's still time to learn.
I guess so. But anyways, you're talking about,
So we do have QR codes at the trailheads that they can, donate
Scan
right
in,
there.
make a donation.
Correct.
Perfect.
And we have it on our website. We try to make it as easy as possible. We also have a lot of merchandise. So lots of Fridays in the summer, I'll go to a trailhead and have NTN stuff so that people can spread the good word of our awesome trails around.
Support the cause.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And then at our events, they can also, donate. And we try and always tell people, this is how this works. This is who we are. You help fund this.
And if somebody is listening to this and they do want to learn more about what it is you do, maybe learn more about the trails, where can they go to do that?
Our website is Noque, N-O-Q-U-E, trails.org. They can also always call us. We're happy to talk to people who want to know more about trails. That's our passion. That's what we love. We want to get them connected.
Lori, Jeni, it's been great having you on the show today. Thank you for taking time to chat with us.
For sure. It's been great. Thanks for giving us the opportunity.
And for our audience, you can always roll on over to totalmichigan.com and click on the links that Jeni was talking about before. We'll see you next time when we talk to another Michigander doing some pretty extraordinary things. We'll see you then.